All right, let's get into this one. This is going to be a fun one. Today we are talking about my top 5 everyday sippers. Now, a couple of caveats before we get into it. The first caveat is I use the term everyday sipper. That doesn't mean I'm advocating drinking every day. We need to watch for our health. We need to be conscious of how much we drink, and we need to be judicious in this hobby that we are passionate about. Now, so I don't mean that we should be drinking every day. We should be taking breaks for our health and everything else. What I mean by everyday sipper, it's a bourbon that is one that is not very expensive, and it's one that's not very rare, and you can sit down and not even think about the price or the rarity because it's just an everyday sipper. That's all I mean by the word everyday. So the second is I'm using the pricing and availability of the stores near me, which are all state-controlled Virginia ABC stores. So you may have better options than I do because of where you live, or you may have worse options depending on where you live. So with that in mind, those are my two caveats. Now, in order to actually qualify to be in this video, there's a couple of rules that have to be met. One is it has to be findable at a store near me, right? It's not something you want to hunt. So again, it has to be available at a store, like Virginia ABC store. Secondly, it has to be under $40 because basically if it's in a bourbon that's over $40, in my opinion, that's kind of a bourbon it's hard to sip on every day or without thinking about the price or to think about the rarity or whatever it is. So, and your price may be $50, maybe your price is $30, but mine is about $40. At that point, I don't even think about it. Now, then the last one is it has to be something that I actually enjoy and would recommend to all of you. So with those caveats in mind, let's start off by telling you what I didn't pick. And the reason is because these are not available near me. They would have been in contention. They meet the price point. They're usually, when they are available in stores near you, they're really, really good. And they're probably, some of you probably could go to your local store and grab one of these, and I would highly recommend it because they're great, great buys. One is Early Times Bottled and Bond. Great bottle. I can't get it here in Virginia, so it's off the list. Next, JTS Brown 100 proof JTS Brown Bottled and Bond. I can't get that here in Virginia. Or at least if I can't get it at my local store. I mean, might be able to special order it or something, but I'm not dealing with all that. That's a headache. Next up, 13th Colony Southern Bourbon. Delicious, delicious bourbon. It's not very expensive, like $30, $35, something like that. I can't get it here in Virginia at all. It's really, really good. And last up is the Benchmark lineup. The Benchmark Full Proof, and particularly, in my opinion, the Benchmark Full Proof and the Benchmark Single Barrel are the two best ones. Some people like the top floor, some, like the bottle, but whatever it is, we all have our preferences there. They don't sell those here in Virginia yet, or at least if they do, I haven't seen them at my local store. Now, unfortunately, there's some others that I wanted to put on this list, but when I started researching it, I couldn't because they were too expensive. One, Michter's US 1 small batch. That now here in Virginia is retailing MSRP. So Virginia, all the Virginia pricing is usually MSRP, which tends to be higher. If your local store can probably go below that price based on what they're getting it from the distributor and how fast they want to move it. In Virginia, they can't do that because it's all based on the MSRP. So, one is the Michter's US 1 small batch. Delicious, delicious bourbon, extremely complex flavors, great, bourbon characteristics, but it's too expensive. Next one, Four Roses single barrel. Now, I don't mean this, the recipes, single barrel, barrel proofs, whatever. I'm not talking about those. Those are super, expensive and rare. I'm talking about just the standard Four Roses single barrel, 100 proofer coming in, usually 7 to 9 years. And it's really pretty solid. But again, in Virginia, they're $49. So I couldn't qualify for that one. And last up that I couldn't put on the list that I thought about was Russell's Reserve 10 year. It's a great bottle. I love it from Wild Turkey. But here in Virginia, they run for $42. Now, you might be able to get sub $40, and I know some of you can. So maybe that should be on your list. Coming in 5th place tonight on my list is Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. Coming in at $20. It is the cheapest bottle on the list, but it's a really good pour. Now, normally when I drink Evan Williams Bottle and Bond, I do it in cocktails. It's actually one of my favorites to put in cocktails. But you can sip on it neat, and it's pretty darn good. You can put it on a rock or something and still enjoy it. That's really, really good. It has a nice deep caramel note and really, really a little bit of a peanut quality to it from Heaven Hill, that light peanut from Heaven Hill. It's a great bottle. I really do recommend it. And for $20, it's hard to beat, although I've got four that I think are better values and better options. And one of those that I think beats that is the Cooper's Craft 100. This is a delicious bourbon. Here in Virginia, retailing for about $34. It's actually the most expensive bourbon on my list tonight. So I didn't even push that $40 price tag tonight. Now, some of you may be saying, well, Cooper's Craft 100, I can't get that near me. I hear you, but could you get JTS Brown, Bottle and Bond, early times Bottle and Bond? What about a 13th Colony or a Benchmark, single barrel? I mean, maybe you can get one of those. Those would be great options for this, to replace this one if you can't get this one. That's the frustrating thing about bourbon in this country is all the state regulations, distribution channels, and shortages, and all that crap. So, anyway, the reason I love this one, 100 proof, so it has a nice proof point, just like the Evan Williams 100 proofer, which is really, really nice. It's enough that you're getting a good, rich, full body without getting a kind of that burny sensation of just having a little bit, higher proof thing. So it's just very approachable, that 100 proof barrier. It's like super perfect for me. But I find that this one has a very nice sweet profile. It has, because of the way they chisel the barrels and the surface area, the additional surface area you get for the wood notes, you tend to get this nice toasty quality, even though it's not toasted. And at 100 proof, you are getting some of those really, really nice proof points, like the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. That 100 proof really brings in a better mouthfeel than a more watered down bourbon, a lower proof bourbon. And you end up with really an overall better bourbon experience because you get that little more proof point. It's not burny, it's not too hot, but it's also, it brings enough like viscous quality that you would want in your bourbon. So if you tend to like sweeter bourbons, this is my number 4 on the list, but if you tend to like sweeter ones, this may be a wonderful option for you. But we're not worrying about that now. We're going to worry about our number 3 pick, which is Old Granddad 114, coming in at 114 proof. This is Jim Beam goodness. The things I love about this, one is it's only $29. $29 for a 114 proof bourbon. That is really, really nice. Now this brings a little bit more kick than the other ones. It brings a lot more kind of peanuttiness. But with that higher proof point, that actually kind of works well because it brings in a little bit of char notes. 114 proof, great in cocktails and all that other stuff. But it's great to sip on, and that's what we're talking about as everyday sipper. So for that reason, this, in my opinion, is a great everyday sipper. Now, my number 2 bottle, and some of you are going to be mad that it's not number 1, but my number 2 bottle tonight, Wild Turkey 101, coming in Virginia at a good solid at $27. Everything keeps getting more expensive. Every time I go onto the Virginia ABC website and I look up the price of a bottle, it turns out to be a couple more dollars expensive than the last time I looked. I swear, last time I looked at Wild Turkey, it was $24.99. Now it's $27.99. Just the way the world's working right now, I guess. Anyway, again, 101 proof, so you are getting that nice proofy quality. You're getting that better mouthfeel. With the Wild Turkey, I find that it has, a little bit of that Wild Turkey funk. And the best way of equating that to is almost like a little bit of a dustiness to it, and that's not a bad thing. But it's just kind of a little bit of a dustiness to it. But in general, on the Wild Turkey 101s, I get this really nice toasted lemon quality, some nice caramel and vanillas, and it packs a good spice as it starts, as you get toward the finish, as you swallow it in the back of your mouth. But overall, I think this is a tremendous bourbon. To me, it is the second best sipper, that everyday sipper that I can get my hands on right now. And my number 1 sipper that I can get here in Virginia with no troubles, under $40, is Old Forester 100. This is, again, a 100 proofer. You'll find a constant theme here in this video. When I'm sipping on a whiskey, I don't tend to like some of the lower proof stuff. I like that 100 proof point. To me, it brings a richness in the palate, a little bit thicker mouthfeel. And when you start getting down to those 90 proof small batches, some of those I think just kind of fall short. And we'll talk about that here in a minute with some of these other ones. But this is $25. So I think it's $24.99 here in Virginia. It is a tremendous, tremendous buy. I mean, we actually have 2 Brown-Forman bottles on the table tonight. being the Cooper's Craft is a Brown Forman, and this is a Brown Forman as well. 100 proofer. What more to say about it? It is great in cocktails. It's fantastic in cocktails. But if you start to like that Brown Forman profile, this bottle, like if you like the Old Forester 1910, if you like Old Forester 1920, any of the Whiskey Row line, then you would probably really, really enjoy this one. And this thing will beat a lot of more expensive bourbons in a blind. I promise you, try it. Put this up against some $40, $50 bourbons and blind it, and you will have a hard time picking it out. I'm just saying, just challenge to all of you. Give it a shot. Now, this is my #1 bottle. Now, some other bottles that were competitive but didn't make the list that I can actually get in Virginia. These I can get in Virginia, and I can get them for the price that the sub $40 price point. The problem is, I just didn't like any of these ones I'm about to list better than the ones that I showed you right now. That's my first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, now some of the bottles that didn't make it into my top 5, I think they're good, and it's not the, I'm not knocking them, but they just, I don't think compare well value-wise or for the price. And the first is Elijah Craig Small Batch, coming in at 94 proof. It's a great bottle. It's really, really nice, but I think, in my opinion, I like these better. I just do. Another one is 1792 Small Batch. It's a solid whiskey. Next up, another bottle that didn't make the top 5 tonight was Maker's Mark 46. I think it's a good bottle of bourbon. You can get them here in Virginia, I believe for $38, $38.99, something like that. And it's a good bottle of whiskey. I do like it. It does bring some complexity and some flavor, but for the additional price, you're really pushing that $40 mark. And I don't think it's better than the Old Forester 100. Just my opinion. Don't that's just my opinion. All right, 2 more to talk about. One is Knob Creek Small Batch. That's the 9-year one, coming in at 100 proof. Hits the 100 proof price. It hits that 100 proof barrier. It's under $40, like right at $39, I believe, here in Virginia. It's a great whiskey, and that would have been my number 6. I think clearly that would have been my number 6. And then the Four Roses Small Batch. It's a good bottle, but I think that if you're going to get the Four Roses Small Batch, you might as well go to the single barrel, even though it's like an extra $10, because the single barrel is such a better whiskey, in my opinion. Anyway, there's so many things to consider when you are buying some of these $40 sippers. All that said, if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It means a lot if you do. And until next time, find a bottle you love.